just want to officially kick off this meeting on behalf of the chair, Victor Davila. And I think the floor is yours, Judy, or Judith, excuse me.
Hi, I'm Judith Garber. I'm from the Lown Institute. We're based in the Boston area, although we no longer have an office after COVID. So I'm calling in from Arlington, Massachusetts. Um, and Karen asked me to give a little bit of information about what we do at the Lown Institute and how we might be able to assist the pilot committee as it relates to tax-exempt hospitals in the Springfield area and their community benefits. So I'm going to share my screen here. You should also have the slides already. I think I sent them in an email. So the Lown Institute was founded by Dr. Bernard Lown. He was a world-renowned cardiologist, but also won a Nobel Peace Prize for being against nuclear war. It's sort of those two sides of clinical excellence, but also social justice that we bring to our work at the Lown Institute. Since 2020, we've put out a ranking on hospital social responsibility, which includes clinical outcomes, health equity, and value of care. That's like our signature project. And what's come out of that has been a project on what we call fair share spending. We're looking at 20 states. We're funded by Arnold Ventures, which is a foundation based in Texas. And what we do is we're looking at hospital tax benefits and comparing them to certain categories of community investment that they report on their 990s. The goal is to show which hospitals could be doing more for their communities, the hospitals that are already doing a lot more for their communities than maybe they were expected to do, and revealing some of the health system failures that create these inequities. Also, we wanted to provide actionable data for policymakers on a state and local level. So when we're looking at fair share spending, we have a lot of various parts of the tax exemption. Actually, there is one I'm missing here, which is the federal unemployment tax. So I'll have to add that into my next slide. But there are several categories of tax benefits here. And then on the other hand, we're looking at what hospitals are providing in their financial assistance, which is free care and discounts, community health improvement, their contributions to local nonprofits, their community building activities, which are sort of trying to address the social drivers of health, and then subsidized services, which are clinical services provided at a loss to the hospital, but serve an essential community need. The reason we're looking at these is because all these are available on the 990 form that hospitals file. So I've shown potential consulting services I could provide for you all. We could do a detailed breakdown of the tax exemptions for these two hospitals in Springfield. Right now we have available 2020 through 2022, but we could add 2023 as their community benefit reports on the state level are now available. We would want to look at their community investments, maybe from the 990 and from the state reports in comparison to other hospitals in Massachusetts. See what maybe some policy recommendations would look like, what a pilot program might look like compared to how Boston currently does theirs. I believe Winchester also does one too. A little note about my previous consulting. And I should have put a slide about myself. I have a master's in public policy from the Heller School, and I've been at the Lown Institute now for 8 years. First, I was a communications fellow, and now I'm a policy analyst here at the Lown Institute. Previously, I've done some consulting. I worked with some folks at Johns Hopkins to do a report on Kitsap County, Washington. They were interested in one specific hospital and what their fair share deficit would be. This report ended up resulting in them creating another community grants program. And then I've also worked with some Detroit community groups who were concerned when the huge hospital in their area, the Henry Ford Health, was developing a new hospital and a new housing development in partnership with the Detroit Pistons. It was sort of a private-public partnership, and they were getting these huge tax benefits on the private side as well as the nonprofit side, and they wanted to know, okay, what are hospitals actually supposed to be doing for this already? I do not have experience negotiating with hospitals, and that I would probably not include that in any sort of consulting I do for you all. Oh wait, did I? Oh yeah, estimated cost. I would say about $100 an hour, max 3,000, but depends on time spent. And I know y'all have very limited budgets on the local level, so I would be happy to talk more with you all about that. A little bit on impact of some of what we've done on the fair share analysis side. These are just examples. It's hard to tell what specifically has come from our work because this is an ongoing discussion and other folks are discussing it too. But this is related to the Detroit. It really started a conversation with Detroit community groups as well as the media and the hospitals about what should be considered a community benefit and what they needed to do to fulfill that obligation. There's been some chatter in Pittsburgh over tax exempt status because they have a huge issue with so much of their land being tax exempt in Pittsburgh. New York City Council actually has created a Office of Healthcare Accountability to get more transparency on these kinds of issues. And this was very recent. I think there is a big impact to how media attention can change hospital behavior. Mayo Clinic recently changed their financial assistance policies to preemptively make people eligible for assistance as opposed to suing them and then finding out they were eligible for assistance. So this has made a big deal. And then similarly, Cleveland Clinic has invested, I think, 50 million more into lead removal in the city. So I hope that was helpful. I tried to go through it quickly. I know you don't have a lot of time, but I'm happy to answer some questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation. I'll actually defer to some of the committee members who've been doing this work prior to me getting on there. I'm just pinch batting for Counselor Davila. So I guess I'll yield to Karen Lee and or Juan before we open up to our city side. If you guys want to give some kind of the background as to what the work you guys have been already doing.
Do you want me to take this, Jay?
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, just because I'll have to step away in a couple minutes, I just have some brief comments, and then I'll absolutely ask you to speak to this because you've been doing the most research. So, Judith, thank you so much for your presentation. This is really informative. Ultimately, our goal here as a subcommittee is to identify new potential revenue streams for the city of Springfield, to offer, continued investments in our community, or, relief in the cost of government and everything in between. And the hospitals probably represent one of the most complicated analyses as part of this, just because of their size, because of their status, because of the tremendous benefit it is to have a hospital in the community and all of the work that that a hospital provides a community. I thought your slide showing the scales was excellent because yes, on one end, hospitals receive a lot of relief from traditional property taxes and other revenues, but they provide incredible community benefits as well. And those two things have to be weighted. So, from my perspective as a potential, opportunity here, the goal I kind of have with this is, should we to move forward, is to just get as much information as possible regarding, the services that our hospitals are providing and what they might be paying if they weren't tax exempt, so that folks within the city council and the administration can then decide with the data presented in front of them, is there an opportunity for negotiation? Is that in the best interest of the city and of the larger community? I think you brought up some really great examples of where, with a little more data, there could be an opportunity for continued investment. I loved that slide you shared about how one of those hospitals, chose to preemptively eliminate medical debt. That's a big issue that's being talked about in our country right now as healthcare costs soar. And Springfield is a community that does have a portion of its residents that are living at or near the poverty line, and we know that medical debt can be a chief factor in some of that. So this is just really exciting to start to have this conversation, and it was interesting to see that you've done this analysis in many different states. So thanks for that. And thank you, Karen. I'll hand it over to you for further comments.
Yeah, before Karen goes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Juan. I also want to recognize my colleagues on the city council, Councilor Whitfield, Councilor Govan, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize the city team initially, Lindsay Hackett and Kathy Bono and her team. So my apologies, and Karen Lee, the floor is yours.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Counselor, Mr. Chair, can I ask a quick question before?
Sure.
I just wanted to see if that presentation can be put in the chat because I missed it, and I just wanted to see what the findings are.
Well, Judy, can you just send that to our emails?
It's already attached to the email that you received for the Zoom. It's an attachment.
Easy. Okay, I'll look it up.
So I'll forward it. I'll forward it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, Karen, the floor is yours.
Okay, so for the benefit of the couple counselors that just came in, could you briefly explain what a fair share deficit is? Maybe start there.
Sure. This is sort of a phrase that at the Lown Institute we developed to try and assess our nonprofit hospitals giving back more in community benefits than they're receiving in tax breaks. And that's a question that researchers have looked at many times before, many times since 2000, I would say. What we do is a little bit different because we're focusing on certain types of community benefit that we think are most impactful for actual community health. When you look at the total of what hospitals report on their tax forms to say this is a community benefit, the biggest chunk of that is Medicaid shortfall. So money that they would have wanted to get from Medicaid to cover cost of care that they didn't get. It's important that they're serving a community need and serving Medicaid patients, but that's not money that goes to improve health, and it's not money that goes into people's pockets to prevent them from getting into medical debt. So there are certain things that we focus on for our fair share spending, but in general, the question is, what's either the gap or the excess in what hospitals are spending on communities compared to the tax breaks?
So you last year sent us what I think through 2022,
Yes.
the fair share deficit. Do you have that in front of you? That
I do not. Let me grab that.
all right. Because there are some, I don't thoroughly understand the charts that you sent. So I'm thinking that it might be a good idea to bring that up. Actually, it was also shared with you on the Zoom link. So everyone should have a copy of that as well. I could probably bring it up.
I can see it on my screen now.
Oh, can you share it?
I don't know if this will be helpful, but I can try.
Okay. All right. Yes, this is it. So the community benefit spending, the percentage of expenses. So when we originally talked, you said something about 15 million deficit. So So I'm not really following where that's coming from. So we have the estimated property tax of almost 12 million. And so they're getting 12 million in savings from the tax. And then you have community benefit spending, a percentage of expenses. What is that number, the 1.43?
So this is maybe not the clearest way to showcase this information.
Okay.
But what I would say is I'm trying to give you an estimate here of what they would pay in various types of taxes. And the community benefit spending as a percent of expenses shows what they're giving back, but it's accounting for their size, right? Like if I just showed you, oh my gosh, Bay State's giving back 21 million and Mercy's only giving back 6 million. Bay State's obviously doing a better job. Well, Bay State's bigger, right? You'd expect that. So the percentages to account for their size, and you can see that this is also compared against the average for the state. So that sort of helps put that number in context. But that's a different way. Like I guess I didn't put fair share deficit in here. I can send that along at some point. But I think there are a couple different ways to look at community benefit spending. You can look at how much is the hospital spending compared to its peers in the state, in the city, in the country. How much is it spending compared to its tax breaks? That's fair share deficit. There's a lot of different ways you can say it.
So then you come up with a percentage of, in the ideal world, what the deficit would be that they would cover. And so the average state at the bottom of the screen here, I think you have the average.
Oh yeah, so this is just, this is another way to look at it. I think I was being a little bit trying to give some information without giving out our precise deficit numbers, because that's sort of embargoed information until we release a report coming up.
Okay.
But what the difference from state average means that if Bay State had been spending up to the percent of expenses as others in the state were doing, they'd be spending this much more.
Okay. Okay. So now,
Hold on. I have a comment.
okay.
So it's not like a one-to-one comparison, number one, because hospitals are different sizes and they service different numbers of population. So it's not a one-to-one comparison. And then number two, this only shows, and I don't know if your report does, but this only shows financial and monetary benefits. It doesn't show other community supports that are offered from these hospitals, like putting for example, their Perch program, where they have their, I guess, residents go out into the community and do certain work. There's a monetary value to that, but I don't think that this report shows additional benefits. I see the Chana up there, and there was something else up there at the top, I think. But, Chana and community benefits spending. It's not a whole story. It's not a holistic story of the benefits that come out of Bay State.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would be wanting to, I said this quite a while ago, so I'd be wanting to look back at the reports that Bay State and Mercy submitted to the state of Massachusetts, which tend to have a good amount of detail to them. I don't know if they include the program that you're speaking about.
I'm pretty sure they will include the Perch program because it's a popular one, and it's one that I'm on the Bay State Community Benefits Advisory Board. So we talk about all these things.
Amazing.
It comes up a lot. But I think that like this chart doesn't tell the full story. So if you put the monetary amounts to the other programs that may be like in-kind support, it might show a different picture.
Sure.
And Counselor, that's actually the next step to do.
Okay.
So is it pronounced Chia? The CHIA? How is that pronounced, Judy?
So
Chia reports, right? So the next one is coming out in February, isn't it?
Are you talking about Chana? CHNA or?
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Chana.
Oh, yeah, that's Chana.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that next report's coming up, I believe, in February, where they need to report what their community benefits were.
She's the one that needs the notary, ma'am.
I think so.
Sorry about that.
Anyway,
I'm
so
mute.
what
Sorry,
we
go ahead.
think, okay. So before we move forward with this, we would need to collect all the benefits and look at all the benefits that they do in the community, not just the ones that are listed, but Councilor Whitfield, there must be a person in Bay State on the community benefits, like that is the keeper of all.
Yeah, her name is Brittany Rosario, and I can send you her email. And Anna Marie Golden has that department.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, Judy, would be something, would you, if you were to work with us, would you get that information from Bay State to see and kind of look through all the community benefits so that we can get a good picture and an analysis of it?
Sure. I would be surprised if a program like that is not on their state community benefit report already. And what
Yeah, I'm
is
pretty
good
sure
about
it is.
what's nice about Massachusetts is I think we're one of the only states that I know of where the AG requires hospitals to report to the state spending specifically on programs that are designed to improve like those community health needs identified in their needs assessment. Most other states don't have that level of detail. So I would want to use that level of detail.
Definitely in the needs assessment.
So ultimately, what the committee was talking about is matching community benefits to a nonprofit so that they're impactful not only for the community, but that the nonprofit itself stays within their mission. So the community benefits they offer are in alignment with their mission. And we've been having people come in, different stakeholders, to give us what we call a wish list that that there's never any money for. So this wish list would be, for an example, Helen Carlton Harris came in and she was talking about a clinic for I think it was unwed teenagers, so that they would have their health prenatal care there, something like that. And so that's the kind of benefit that could be matched to a hospital because that's what they do. And so developing a clinic for this purpose rather than offering a community benefit that doesn't really relate to what they do in their mission statement. So that's going to be a process to go through and try to match up some of these community benefits throughout all the pilot programs that we possibly will be looking at. So that's one thing. Is there anyone else that has a question for Judith? I mean, you can jump in, it's fine.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you were done, Karen, and then we'll pass it off to the city team. See if they have anything. Karen, are you all set with your presentation or?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot more to it. And I know there's a lot of detail involved there, but Judy, how long do you think how long of a timeline are you thinking about that would take to analyze all this data?
I think maybe 15 to 20 hours.
And you had mentioned that you have some other organizations on your plate. So when do you think you could potentially start working on this?
I thought you said you wanted to start in August.
Well, because we were looking at a grant and would have to see about the grant process, but maybe it's possible that we could, if Kathy Bono's still there, be reimbursed for the grant or something. I don't know. I think it's important if we could get the information. The earlier the better, but it may be delayed depending on how the financial piece works out for it. Maybe Kathy, you can address that. I don't know. But if ideally, it would be great if we had it maybe June.
June might work. I'm a little bit nervous because from here, from like now until June is really crunchy in terms of a lot of deadlines that we're facing. So I'll have to think about that, about the timeline there. But it is not a super, it's not a huge, extensive, months long project. So it's certainly possible.
Okay.
As far as funding, it is not in our budget, so that would have to come from the mayor and the city council to approve.
So maybe we're going through the budget process now, and we'll be done by June, hopefully. Be done with
Hopefully, Counselor.
this might carry over into next fiscal year, so doesn't necessarily have to be done by June, because it's not gonna benefit us for this budget cycle anyway, if done by June. So maybe we can talk to Kathy about, since it is a subcommittee of the city council, maybe we could talk to Kathy and Gladys and the team about putting money in our budget to fund projects like research projects and things like that. So that we'll have it in our budget, but it's a conversation we can definitely have, but I don't think it's a rush for June since it's gonna be past the budget cycle for implementation anyway. That's just my thoughts.
I agree, Counselor. If that matters.
Does, because you know how me and you can get sometimes.
Counselor, I agree too, for whatever that matters.
You gotta mark this date down.
All right, so we also want to recognize Senator Gomez, who's on the line. Thank you for taking the time out. So we'll, Karen, are you finished with your question? I just want to make sure you're.
I'm all set for now. Thank you, Council.
Okay. All right, so we're going to open it up to Kathy. I'm not sure if you have any comments, or Lindsay from the city side. So if you guys have any comments or questions.
Not from me. Thank you, Counselor.
No, I would just point out a comment Karen made. As the committee, we want to agree first before the data is interpreted to have a common understanding what our mission is to help guide the analysis. So I think the pilot committee has to have an understanding what their mission is and what direction they're going in before we enter any type of contract to do any type of analysis.
Understood. All right. Counselors, have any other questions?
I don't, I'm good.
I'm all
Senator
set.
Senator Gomez, do you have any comments or questions?
Counselor, yeah, I was just invited to the meeting just to give a little bit of update on the pilot legislation. I think that's why I was asked to come. Basically, this week is bill filing. The deadline is on Friday. I plan on filing the piece of legislation, the pilot program. I'm going to be leaning towards the committee that's working on the pilot program for a lot of information. So then hopefully working closely with my staff, with you guys, to see how we can do it can help me do a better job on trying to, push this piece of legislation forward. Last legislative season, it got sent to study. Hopefully, we can work out, and then depending on what Springfield does specific to this initiative, possibly we can talk to our other sister cities on potentially other city council members that want to propose this type of legislation on the local level, so we can start building momentum behind this piece of legislation, so it can become more than just a conversation starter and a non-starter. So that's basically it. I'm in Boston now. I'm in a hearing. Just came out of my hearing, so sorry if we talked about it first. I couldn't get out of this hearing that I was in because on a new commission talking about consolidation of our criminal justice system, specifically the DOC or Department of Corrections. So I apologize, I could not be there. Oh, I couldn't be there on time.
All right. Thank you, Senator Gomez. Karen, I'm not sure if Councilor Davila, you guys are going to be working together to get this information to Senator Gomez.
Yes.
Okay.
Senator, I don't know what time frame you're working on right here, but for those who are just starting to watch the pilot meetings, could you just explain what it is the bill could do if that you will be sponsoring?
Well, just in a quick summary, the bill that I'm filing looks at nonprofits such as in our healthcare system or bigger nonprofits that don't necessarily pay into the tax rolls. And it's not specific just for Springfield, but across the Commonwealth, where they don't pay into a lot of money. And what ends up happening is if we're able to basically pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes, and basically looking at what's the community benefit, quote unquote, that these organizations like hate to say it, but Bay State of that magnitude that are bigger organizations that own a lot of real estate within the city, and how does that make sense for the tax burden to be put on the citizen rather than the business? And with this piece of legislation, it would at least put into perspective, big schools as well that have huge endowments that kind of own property all over the Commonwealth that don't pay into the tax rolls. Some schools and some entities have certain deals and negotiations with payment in lieu of taxes with the municipalities, but I'm not sure what that looks like. And that's with the city, with other nonprofits that are huge, that own a lot of real estate, that don't pay taxes and don't pay into the tax roll. And that's why kind of this idea had came to me through Karen Lee about 2 sessions ago. And I know Karen and a bunch of folks have been fighting the good fight, especially on trying to understand huge nonprofits with this industrial, I would say the industrial nonprofit complex, where huge nonprofits own tons of real estate and don't necessarily pay into the tax rolls. And inevitably, it doesn't, yeah, they apply services to the community, but it doesn't benefit the city as much, because what ends up happening is the resident, the citizen that owns, ends up paying a lot more for taxes. And I know that now with taxes going up and how the economy's looking, we're looking for more revenue boosters and things of this kind of magnitude to be able to sustain specifically our services within the city and also within the Commonwealth.
Could I just add something to that, if that's all right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please.
Okay. All right. So this bill has been attempted for the last 20 years up into the legislature. And Senator Gomez, I think at the last 3 or 4 sessions, or 3 or 4 times, anyway, has been put up. But it's important to know that this bill is for 15 million and over of property. So this doesn't affect the small little businesses in Springfield, the small nonprofits. This bill specifically is for any property over 15 million or assets over 15 million. And the second thing to remember is that this doesn't affect their tax status as a nonprofit in their taxable, in their income tax filing. So nothing really changes for them. They're actually getting a 75% discount on their taxes, because this bill could go up to 25% of what they would have owed in taxes had they not been tax exempt. So really, it's a 75% discount they get on their taxes. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Karen. I also want to recognize City Councilor Brian Santinello as well.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to also add to Senator Gomez and to what Karen is saying, that it's not a sexy bill because the nonprofits are going to push back and say we give out benefits in the form of in-kind benefits, other things. So it's not a sexy bill, but if it's something that is truly believed in, people should like really support Senator Gomez on this bill through their own organizations or what even individually, if it's something that you really believe in, because you know the nonprofits are gonna push back a bit. And I remember Springfield College pushing back before when I worked for the city and I was actually over the pilot program when I worked there. And that's something that they would always say we give back in other ways. So any support that the senator can get is really helpful and needed.
Senator, can you give like, is there anything that we could be doing to help you? Like, what do you need to get this bill passed? What specifically is there?
I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that. I think it's more of we need more of a balance from other communities and other like help with co-sponsorship at this moment. Bill filing, it's like pressing a reset every session. So I'm going to file it again for Friday or before Friday. Then after Friday, it'll get sent to a committee. Most likely it'll get sent to the same committee. And then from there, when it's time, which hopefully my office can share with the pilot committee, that we need testimony. We need a lot of, organizing one-on-one work behind the bill on why it's important, and then try to find partners and coalition build with other organizations. That's why, like, I kind of made that suggestion of if folks or people that we're working with outside of the nucleus of how this bill is being projected, if we could find partners across the Commonwealth, because yes, I'm very humbled to be able to file this bill and make this bill possible, that it's a real thing. But if we can't get more than just one senator or other representatives or representative, we do have a rep partner, which is Representative Uderhoven, if I'm correct, right? Karen, am I correct?
Yes.
So, if we can, build from where she is and where we're from and kind of build towards the middle, we can build some frequency behind the bill, the important part of it. Maybe it's a marketing campaign behind it and what that looks like, and the importance behind it is just, like the council said, it's not necessarily a sexy bill. There's a lot of, pushback. Like it sounds great, but honestly, the powers that be in this nonprofit industrial complex can really be very troublesome, specifically when it comes to leadership, and also specific bills like this that are gonna mess with, some of these, organizations' money.
So do you think it would be helpful? Last year, there was an attempt to get city councils from each of the municipalities to write a resolution in support and send it in to the committee reviewing. Is that helpful to?
Yeah, I think that what we can do is, work with other councils to pass a resolution on the language behind this bill that we speak of, and then from there we can submit those, like you said, to the committee and show that these different municipalities passed a resolution in support of them, so then they can at least, for the most part, look at, okay, these cities are fairly in favor of this bill and obviously this conversation, and then from there, it would force other representatives and also senators to pay attention, because the closest body elected to the people are the select boards and also the city councilors.
Okay, so
if I may ask, Karen, I'm sorry, Karen.
No, go ahead.
So, Senator, what would you say is the most, you said it's been at the State House for over 20 years now. What's been the opposition? Has it been from those that nonprofit industrial complex that you talk about?
Of course, some of these it came up in a private meeting that I had with our private schools from up in the Upper Valley, and they were questioning a lot of the pilot programs. Private schools like and Springfield College was there. It's just is just something that is, specifically, especially with the conversation with Trump being in office. That's why it came up of, the potential federal funding. So this does have, there is
Yeah, I
repercussions
get
to
that.
everything, even though that, we're trying to do the good
Okay.
work of the people. There's
Don't know if
still
we
kind
lost.
of a double-edged
Okay.
sword when it comes to stuff like that. But you get it. It's like those folks that, or certain organizations that don't see that they should pay a payment in lieu of taxes, and for whatever reason it is that they have.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure would make our job a lot easier if this bill passed, that we wouldn't be having to like sift through all this. Of course, Judith, then we would still need to know what kind of community benefits were there, but it sure would make it easier if this bill passed and we could just move on. Do you have any thoughts on that, Judith? On the
Yeah,
bill?
I just wanted to sort of thinking about your subcommittee and the mission. I I think there's a distinction between looking at whether or not a hospital is giving back enough in community benefit or giving back more than it receives in tax exemption. That's sort of one specific question. Or even, are they investing in the right community benefits for that community? That's like one question. And then another one is the idea of like, should a very large institution that is using local utilities, fire, like every other kind of local, I don't know where utility or infrastructure, should they pay a little bit of taxes, even
Right.
because I do, like Counselor Whitfield was saying, and like all these the hospitals are doing a lot of great things, but it could be that we should still expect that they pay a little bit into it, given that
They
they're
should.
using this infrastructure. It also, there's if you don't have to pay anything on taxes, that's an incentive to buy up more property. And given our housing crisis, I don't think that's a great thing. That's like a broader issue, but there are a couple different angles to go about this pilot payment. I'll also say like there's a lot to be learned from the Boston's experience. I'm sure Senator Gomez, you are aware of, where right now it's a voluntary program. Hospitals do a good job actually of paying these pilot payments, and other large nonprofits do a less good job of paying them. But also certain community benefits that hospitals report, I think a chunk of that is considered part of the pilot payment. So they're not paying as much like cash to the city as they might be if it were just about paying that chunk. The other thing is that the way in which that pilot program works in Boston is that it's sort of based on the value of the hospital's property when that legislation was or when that agreement was made, which was I think over a decade ago, and then it's adjusted for inflation and adjusted for new properties, but they're not actually like looking at what that property is all worth now in the assessment data, which would be a lot more valuable. So those are things to take into consideration for you all.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Karen, for that. I also want to yield the floor to the chair of this committee, Victor Davila, who's actually on the line now. So, Victor, I just want to yield the floor to you and pass the baton to you so you can take over your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Click, and good afternoon, everybody. My apologies. I had an issue with the medical appointment that ran over, but everything is well. So, Judy, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your explanation. Judy, do you have anything else you want to contribute?
Not in addition to the slides that I shared, which you should all have available.
Okay, you're gonna send that to all the city councils, Judy?
Yeah, I think Karen already has.
Karen has it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. I just kind of like picked up a little what you were saying, and I see Kathy Bourne is on the line. Kathy, do you know if the current contracts that we have, are they adjusted for the inflation, or is that just a flat rate or flat agreement?
The pilot programs we currently have,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think they take into consideration inflation. I think they were preset, but I don't
Okay.
know that.
Okay. I have a funny feeling you're right.
I can
Okay.
find that out, Counselor.
Actually, I have the answer to that.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yes, those contracts were written and they haven't changed. 1993 is the same contract as it is today. So that would be something that we would look at to see if those should be revised. As far as the other contracts, my understanding with speaking with the assessor is that they don't go in and look at a new assessment each year if it's a nonprofit. So whatever they based it on originally, that's the contract. So it would have to be specific to renew it and look at it again. It's the same amount as it
Yes,
was. Yeah.
valid point. Very good, valid point. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I just have a comment. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Go ahead, Councilor Whitfield.
Just a final comment for Kathy, like if we could have a conversation about considering like putting funding aside for city council. We don't even use our educational funds yet, so but putting money aside for research projects and stuff that come out from subcommittees or working groups in case we need to do some research. So I just wanted to make sure that's on.
Okay.
That's a very good.
Thank you.
That's a very good point. Councilor Santinello.
Yeah, real quick. First of all, do we have copies of that bill that's pending? We can look at that. Do we have it in our packet?
Karen?
No, Senator Gomez is filing it on Friday, but you can look at the last bill. You'd have to look back in your emails, but it is available, on the state.
Here's my
But I can
question.
send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Here's my question. Is there any way that we can incorporate or think about putting in that in lieu of paying taxes, that some of these nonprofits can give back in community service hours back to the community to help the city?
You know what? My sense is that's probably part of their package, that they have a certain amount of community service, like going out and I don't know, what's a good example? Planting vegetation somewhere that would be like community hours. I think they must have some programs where the employees
Or
go
perhaps helping the seniors in a certain capacity, or the homeless, which would benefit the city of Springfield in lieu of a payment. They would give us hours. They could give us hours.
So Judith, you want to go ahead and read your comment that you just wrote?
Sure. Yeah. So I think a hospital could, they can give money to community groups, which is included on their community benefit report, and they can get in-kind payments, which includes volunteer hours. So yes, if the city were to say the hospital has to give back in this amount every year or something like that, one of the ways it could give back could be through volunteer hours.
Thank you. I mean, I'm all in favor of putting together a resolve to support the senator on this legislation.
Great.
Very well. Very well.
I would join it. But I wanted to say, like, sorry, Mr. Chair. Okay.
Go ahead.
To reply to what Brian said, it's not gonna really give us more of a benefit because some of these colleges already do that. For example, Springfield College uses its youth to help the seniors. Like, we used them one year with the Mason Square C3 to rake the leaves or do some projects for the seniors that were not mobile and couldn't get out to do some stuff in their yards and things like that. So they do have programs where the students do that. I'm not sure about the staff, but they would just use those hours and really probably not contribute more. And we're trying to like get more revenue in the door. But even Bay State have programs where there's community service work already being done. So but I think that's a good idea still, but I think that they would just they're already doing and not give us anything additional in that aspect. But I still think it's a good idea to have it maybe.
Thank you, Councilor Whitford. Thank you. Anything else, Councilor Santinello?
No.
Very well. Kathy, I have a quick question for you. I know in preparation to this meeting, Judy was kind enough to send us a little summary. I don't know if you were able to review it. And Judy, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I do believe that some of the research that was done shows that all area hospitals are underperforming when it comes to community benefits. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a fair statement to say that I think the average is 2.47%, give or take.
I just
And
had that up and I have to find it, but it was something like that.
Okay, and I think our hospitals are doing about 1.3, maybe 1.5, something like that. It's like 1% on the performance, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I will say I took a look briefly at the 2023 report for Bay State. It looks like they have increased their community benefits spending by quite a lot. So I'd be interested in to see any changes and whether they're sort of on their own deciding to contribute more and what that might mean for your initiatives.
Right, and that does translate into millions of dollars. Most likely. Okay. Kathy, I have a quick question for you. How do we go about finding out exactly the current community benefits that our area nonprofits, mainly the hospitals and these colleges, are providing?
I mean, the only thing you could do is reach out to each one of them, but like Councilor Whitfield said, there's a lot of in-kind, and this isn't a true picture of what they do. I would question the numbers from 20 and 21 only because we were right in the middle of COVID and there was a lot they couldn't do. But this doesn't include, and we're also talking about a hospital which has been, and I don't know their finances, but it's been all over the paper that Bay State is struggling and laying people off. So I think we have to decide if we're going to try to not go after, but are we looking to raise revenues or are we looking to match these nonprofits and hospitals and colleges match what the Springfield needs and increase their community benefits, or are we looking? So that's what this is what this committee is doing, but the only way you can get each of the individuals without, I mean, these tax forms, I think, Judy said that they're very detailed and they'll tell you what they did. So if maybe you get the 990s from all the organizations, but we have a lot of nonprofits in Springfield. So are you looking at all of them? Are you looking at some of them? Are you looking at the big ones or?
So I believe, Judy, you just posted something saying the state posts on community benefits reports. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the state requires all hospitals, or actually it's not required, it's voluntary. Some hospitals don't do it. But Bay State and Mercy do. All of their community benefit reports are online and available. They also file 990s, but their community benefits are not categorized in exactly the same way by the state and the federal government. There's some discrepancies there. But
okay,
both are available.
So that's mass.gov/nonprofit hospitals and community benefits. Okay. Kathy, fair point what you bring. I want to know what they're doing, including the COVID. Of course, COVID is a whole different animal altogether. And I think in order to have a clear picture that you just said, I would like to know for sure what they have been doing and what they will do in the future. And so I know the Bay State is struggling, so they say, but I still want to know what they have been doing. And it's something that I look forward. I will get in touch with you so that we can follow up on that particular issue, because I want to know what they have been doing. And so,
Counselor,
go ahead, Councilor Whitfield.
I suggest bringing Bay State in or the hospitals to
Of
talk,
course, yeah.
because me being on the Benefits Community Advisory Board, they do a lot in the community, and folks don't even know, from surveys to giving special funding to like wayfind, other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Like,
right, and I'm sure they do,
so
Councilor
I know
Whitfield,
you
but
want to know,
I don't know.
but I think the best way to learn it is to bring them in, because they can give Kathy a report that still doesn't show the full picture. So maybe we, and let's not just pick on the hospitals, because I got like the colleges, like Springfield College buys a lot of the properties right around the college. And besides that one program, because someone from C3 was actually working at Springfield College, I don't see a lot that they do. I can't see a lot that they do for the community, for the Springfield community. So I don't want to pick on just the Bay States of the world, but like we need the bigger nonprofits. I think the report said 15 million or more in revenue, and there's more than just like Bay State out there. And so I don't want to like just keep picking on Bay State. It's a little bit offensive to me only because I know what they do. And so I get a big picture, then let's bring more than just the Bay State's Mercy and the colleges in to talk about what they do and what the number is.
Yeah, and like I have said before, Councilor Whitfield, and it's a good point actually, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're not picking, we're not going after anybody. As I said before publicly, these nonprofits are our partners in our city, and we need their help. We need to work collaboratively together. I have said before, they will come into our committee. We will ask them to come in. That has always been the plan. We're not quite there yet, but according to the reports that Julie has been able to gather, I do want to know. You know, but I don't know. And if I don't know, I want to know.
Community Benefits Advisory Report right online, so I don't know if that's anything different than what's there.
You're cutting off, Councilor Whitfield.
No, I said I don't know that you'll get anything different than what was put in the chat, because what they do is all in the Community Benefits Advisory Report.
Well, we'll find out. If I don't ask, I won't know. If we don't ask, we won't know. So I will look at it. Rest assured, I will have a conversation with Kathy offline, and but just putting that out there, I want to know what exactly has been done in community benefits. But I do thank you for not only for your work as a councilor and finish your duty to the city, but to your work with Vested as well. And for that, I thank you. Anything else? No? Okay. Anybody else has any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas?
Can I just follow up on Tracy? I'm sorry, Councilor Whitfield. I think we need to be a little bit mindful about what we're doing and don't prematurely bring Bay State in until we have a mission of what our goal is with this analysis from the Loam Center, and have all our own data first so that we understand completely what it is that we're hoping to achieve before bringing Bay State in, because they'll just bamboozle us. If we don't have an analysis of the community benefits that they have provided for the city, they're going to just run off a list. And that's great. That's what we want to hear. But I think we need to do our own homework first before we bring Bay State in. That's just my opinion.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, Karen. I'm just saying what he's asking Kathy for additional information, and is that same report. That's all that I was saying, because that's the report that they send to everybody. Anybody who wants to know what Bay State does and they want it in writing, they get that, and they might get the PON report. So those are the reports that we go over to talk about the community benefits. I just don't think that Kathy will get anything in additional, but she can reach out and maybe they will give us something.
We will ask. Thank you. Judy, anything else, Judy? I want to do a quick time check. Now it's down 2:42. Anything else you want to add, Judy?
No, that all sounds very interesting. So glad to be included. And thank you for having me. I appreciate the work that you all do.
Oh, it's excellent. Judy, you say you're going to send out, Karen, you're going to send out all that information to us. And I just want to thank Councilor Govan and Councilor LeVar Clark for kickstarting this meeting. I really appreciate it. And unless there's no questions, comments, concerns, final thoughts from anybody? No? Karen?
Actually, this question is for Kathy. I don't know, Victor, if you wanted to mention it. At the last meeting, we sent you a list of suggestions for other revenue. I don't know if you want to jump in and have you had a chance to look at it or?
Oh, yeah, we reviewed it. We had a team meeting. A lot of it is things that we do every year during the budget process. We review all the city's fees and fines and things like that. So that's all done on a daily basis, on a yearly basis. Some of the suggestions as far as adding extra permitting costs or to new developments or housing projects, I hesitate to do anything like that because the city is trying to encourage it, and any new fees tend to discourage development rather than encourage it. So, I mean, it is something we look at, but there isn't anything new that the city is looking to increase revenue based on taxing or putting in new fees for developers of whether it's economic development or housing right now. But we are looking through your list, Karen, and we have gone through it. But those are all things that we do during the budget process to try to increase revenues.
Mm-hmm. Karen, you have a comment?
No, not at this time. I'll follow up, but not at this time. Thanks.
Yeah, Kathy, as you know, and this is a conversation for later, but you know that the new ADU, I believe accessory dwelling units, is going to go into law on February 2nd. And we need to discuss how that affects Springfield, and is there a potential for new revenue on that as well? You know, because if we are going to increase, if the state is going to mandate us to increase the housing market, then we need to capitalize on that. And I'm sure you're familiarized with the ADUs that is going to be going to law on February 2nd. But I probably, I will reach out on that particular area, because as I said from the beginning on this committee, everything is on the table for me because we need money. We talk about the nonprofits, that the big gorilla in the room, but there's also lower hanging fruits. With that being said, Judy, did you have a question or follow-up? I thought so you haven't raised. No.
About follow-up, so I guess, Karen, you'll follow up with me on timeline and that sort of thing?
Yes. I think the timeline now is not going to be June, but then after the budget season, I guess we're talking this summer.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Very well.
I do want one more comment that
sure, Karen.
Councilor Davila, before we hang up. I didn't want to cut you off, Judy. Go ahead.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. I just wanted to give a quick report from the legal department. We had sent 12 contracts to Solicitor Bonacani to review and learn if we could use it as a template for other housing organizations that accept HUD funding. Those are the 12 pilot agreements that we have. And so Solicitor Bonacani assigned that investigation to one of the attorneys. So there's nothing to report at this time, but they're working on it. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Karen. All right. With that being said, sure, Jay.
Hi, good evening, or good afternoon, I should say. My apologies. Just one quick thing I wanted to share too. I'm meeting with Sequoia Malone at the end of the month to start to prepare our grant applications to the Department of Local Services Community Best Practices Grant. I think we're meeting on the 31st. So it's, like I said, it's not a long application. So we're going to get as much done as we can. And then, you know, as we identify the partners we want to work with that we may wish to secure funding from the state to secure, we'll just keep amending our application until it's in final form. And I'm sure it'll be ready to go, you know, well before the budget, you know, grant process opens.
Yes.
Thank you for that report, Jay.
Thank you.
Very well. The time is now 2:48. Unless there's no final comments or follow-up. Very well. We'll see you next month.
And we have a guest next month as well, right?
Yes, it's going to be the Collins Center.
That's
who's going to come in? Who's going to be, Jay?
I'll get you the full list of names, Counselor, but they've already been shared with the City Council staff, so they'll be invited. I think different colleagues from that organization, and I'll get you the names.
Very well. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I think if you were Judy, thank you so much for your help, and we will stay in touch. Thank you. God bless. Meeting is adjourned at 2:49.
Thank you.
God bless. Bye.